Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Cole Phillips, author of The Adventure of the Twisted Truths and host of the Book and Dagger. Today, this is going to be an episode of the Book and Dagger where we talk about Star Wars. Now, I have been a big Star Wars fan ever since I was a kid. I think my first introduction into it was kind of when I got some Lego sets, and then I played the Lego Star Wars video game, and I grew up, watched the originals and the prequels, and so I've always been just this huge Star Wars nerd ever since I was a little kid. Recently, the past couple of years, however, I still loved it, but I just wasn't as invested as it for some reason. I guess I was watching other shows and getting into other book series and things, and Star Wars just kind of fell to the wayside. I'm sad to say, but I recently watched some Star Wars. I've recently been on a Star Wars content watching spree. So I watched The Mandalorian, which my roommate, shout out to him, because he told me, my roommate was like, The Mandalorian is something I've never seen or I hadn't seen, and I just kind of put it off for years, been like, yeah, I'm just not really interested because from what I had heard of it and seen little clips, it just wasn't something I thought I'd be interested in. Uh, anyway, however, my roommate told me, "Hey, this is actually a really great show. I'm rewatching it. You should watch it too." So I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." So I wasn't a big fan of the sequel trilogy. Um, I saw the Force Awakens and the Last Jedi, which Last Jedi I actually didn't think was too bad. I know a lot of people have said that's the worst out of the sequel trilogy. I actually kind of enjoyed it in a way. But the Force Awakens was kind of just a recycling of A New Hope, I felt. And then from what I saw, The Rise of Skywalker, it just didn't like. There were so many plot holes, and it didn't really make any sense, and it just didn't feel right for me. Anyway, but so I've been kind of like, okay, Disney Star Wars kind of sucks, with the exception of Rogue One, which is a stellar Star Wars movie. But then I watched The Mandalorian recently, and it was phenomenal. Well, I watched The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, and thoroughly enjoyed them. I just gotta say, I would give 10 out of 10, with the exception of a few episodes where it was a little feel like they were going off track a little. But on the whole, it was an amazing show. I love the main character, the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, or how you pronounce his name. I'm not very good at pronouncing that name, but I thought he was a phenomenal main character. Like, he starts out, as this bounty hunter who only he's basically just doing jobs for money, and then he meets Grogu and gets attached to this little baby Yoda essentially, and along the way he battles Empire soldiers. He helps Mandalorians reclaim Mandalore. He just does all this stuff. It really felt for me, like, as I was watching it, it felt like kind of like a Star Wars Western, or like a Star Wars D&D campaign in a way. It was just a really fun, really cool show. Lots of epic battle scenes. I love the Mandalorians, like their culture and everything, and just I've always thought the armor is so cool. But I never realized there was so much just lore about Mandalore until I watched the Mandalorian, and it was just, I loved seeing the Death Watch, kind of the one extremist side of Mandalore who never want to remove their helmets and all that, and the other side of Mandalore who believe it's okay to remove helmets and all that stuff. Bo-Katan, the Dark Saber, just all the Mythosaur, all the bits of Star Wars lore thrown in was just really awesome and really fun to watch. And it's actually made me realize that I want to get a Mandalorian helmet. So I want to get a black Mandalorian helmet, because I think it'd be cool with a black, assassin cosplay, and really cool. Oh, and that show really made me want to just cosplay Star Wars again. So I'm hoping to do that soon. And but also, since we're on the subject of the Mandalorian, in the Book of Boba, I'll just go ahead and talk about the Book of Boba Fett, because the Book of Boba Fett is basically season 3.5 of the Mandalorian, or between season 2.5, between season 2 and 3. If you don't watch the Book of Boba Fett, then season 3 of the Mandalorian doesn't really make any sense to you. Because I was watching the Mandalorian, I finished season 2, I went straight to season 3, and I was watching the first episode. I was like, this isn't making any sense. I wonder if I should watch the Book of Boba Fett first. So I went and watched the Book of Boba Fett, like the end of season 2 of the Mandalorian told me I should do, because it said at the end of season 2, it was literally the Book of Boba Fett is coming out, yada yada yada. And so I was like, okay, so I'm gonna watch the Book of Boba Fett. I really enjoyed the Book of Boba Fett. I've talked to some people, and they said they thought it was kind of cheesy, and it was kind of. It was very much a Disney show, but I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Mandalorian, and I just really enjoyed also because Boba Fett is a character that, like, you only see it like in the movies, you only really see him a little bit, and so I never really cared much for his character. Like, I just, I thought of him as like a side villain, and so like when he died, I didn't really feel anything, or like, even as a kid, I was kind of like, oh, he's kind of evil. But then it was really cool because in the show, the Book of Boba Fett, and then also in the Mandalorian, they actually made me care for his character. Like, I was actually really invested, like actually cheering him on, which I love it that the show made me do that, because like I said before, he was a character that I previously had really no interest in, and these shows actually made me like feel really invested in him and like be cheering him on as like the main character. So I really enjoyed those shows, thoroughly enjoyed them, and now I'm actually watching the Clone Wars, which I'll be doing a couple of videos on that later on. I'm going to be watching the Clone Wars, which I have never seen before. I'm going to watch the Bad Batch and Rebels, which I've been told are really good Star Wars shows that I've just never seen. So I'll be on the lookout for videos of those. And I'll just slight thing. I've been really enjoying the Mandalorian orbits in the Clone Wars as well, and I feel it's really cool that I'm watching the Clone Wars after seeing the Mandalorian and all this, because it got me really like even more into all the lore and everything. But yeah, be on the lookout for future Star Wars videos coming soon, and I will see you guys next time.